Good evening, everyone. My name's James Potter. The topic that I chose was barriers to effective decision making. Now, I chose this topic because I feel like everybody runs into barriers that affect their decision making. I run into barriers all the time with construction projects. Um, I guess a brief summary of what barriers of effective decision making are is that they're obstacles that prevent individuals or organizations from making clear, rational, or timely choices. Now, before reading this chapter, I took this as, like changes in plans, funding issues, and other barriers with, say, like employees and things like that. Um, but what I've learned from, the different barriers that I've read about is that these are mostly like internal or, driven by the individual. One of the areas that I learned about was bonded rationality. Now, this is when people they just can't analyze every piece of information because it's just too much to process. Now, what this means is what usually happens when you have bonded rationality is that people tend to settle on making decisions that they consider to be good enough, and I think we've all found ourselves in positions like that where it's like this is too much to process. I think this will be good enough. Let's just get this done and keep moving. Another one of the areas that I learned about was biases. Now, this is where people make, mental shortcuts with their decision making. Now, these shortcuts are called, I'm going to butcher this word, heuristics. And these shortcuts can be, helpful, but they also lead to other biases. And some of the biases that I learned about were ones like anchoring. Now, anchoring is when you rely on the first set of information that you see. Um, then we have confirmation biases, which is information that supports what you already believe. And then we have what's called overconfidence biases, which is thinking you're thinking that you have more knowledge in a particular subject than you actually have. Now, these biases can distort your way of thinking and can lead to some not so great decisions in the future. Some of the other barriers that I learned about were like emotions and stress. Now, this is when you let your emotions influence your judgment, and then stressors are like stress, frustrations, and fears they can inhibit your ability to critically think things out. But on the flip side of that coin, there's other types of emotions like overly positive emotions, and this may make somebody, kind of ignorant to the risks of their decisions that they're making at the time. Then I also learned about, escalation of commitment. This is when somebody just keeps going down the same road, even though it's not working. And they usually do this because they've invested so much time into this one thing, and they're like, you know what, I'm just going to keep going, and it's just they just don't want to admit that they're wrong. Another one that I learned about was groupthink. Now, this is when somebody makes a decision that goes along with the group, which can lead to some pretty poor decision making. A good example of groupthink is, back in the day, everybody got on this bandwagon that Creed and Nickelback weren't good bands. Nobody liked their music, and just know that I wasn't the only person that rolled up my windows and turned Creed or Nickelback on full blast and belted out every one of their songs in my car. I know I wasn't the only person doing it, okay? Then the other one that I have is the lack of information or poor communication. This is when decision makers they just don't have accurate information. And like I said before, I work in construction, and sometimes you get poor information from your general contractors or from your subcontractors, and then this could lead to poor communication. And further down the line, this can lead to delays in your work. So that's what I've learned so far about barriers to effective decision making. And I pose two questions to you all. Can you guys give me a time where you were involved in groupthink, And then can you also give me an example of, some time where you reacted to something in an emotional way and you made, a poor decision based off of your emotions? Uh, Thank you. My name's James Potter, and I hope you enjoyed my presentation.